Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. This is going to be a fun one. And no, that is not Seth Kaiser over there, but we're going to explain that here in a minute. We got to talk pass rush. Chris Jones and Sack Nation coming up next on RGR Football. Hey, everybody. It's a Thursday night. I know you're excited because players are about to start showing up, and I hadn't moved the mic because it was hiding my nice
Mandalorian shirt. I
logo,
like it.
Right? My kids gave me that. I thought I'd throw that out there. It is the Chief in the North tonight, but the Chief himself had something come up work-wise. He cannot make it tonight, so Dan was nice enough to step in. How are you, Dan?
I'm good. I know a lot of you are probably a little upset because you see me every week, all day, every week. You want to see Seth. I know he's going to be back. We'll get him back on, but I am doing fantastic. Quarterbacks, rookies tomorrow. Like, I'm so excited.
I'll just be the first to say we made it.
We
made it through an off season.
We made it.
This is like the hardest 6 weeks of the year for me, like after the draft to now.
The 6 weeks, it literally has felt like 4 months. I feel like it has not been. It's been 4 months since the draft. It's been so long.
Oh, man, I'm ready. A lot going on. I know you guys will probably have questions tonight. We'll do a few more questions than we normally do. It won't be a total Q&A because I have a topic that we were going to talk about anyway. And so I don't even know that Dan's seen this. Did show this to the staff on RGR over on the Discord. Michael, I got a nice email from you. I will get with you. If you are right now one of the all-stars or the elites, you should have emails in your inbox in order to join the members-only Discord. That is available. Starters, you guys are coming next. Michael's going to be one of them. I will get that. If you do want to support the channel, I appreciate that. The memberships are one of the ways to do it. The T-shirts, you can get the RGR stuff on. That's another. And the other way is the super chats. And Ben, as always, thank you, Ben. We appreciate the support.
So awesome.
Ben has 2 in here already. I don't know how he did that. I'm shocked, but thank you, Ben. We appreciate the support. And we are going to go through a bunch of your topics tonight. I have some things to show you. We're going to do that. In fact, just had to cue that up a little bit. But Ben, thank you. The super chats really help us like expand software that we're using, things like that, to show you more things. If you guys missed yesterday's, or was it this afternoon's? No, it was yesterday's. I'm losing track of days. I'm so excited. Dan's breakdown. I really enjoy taking a look at, yes, they're winning all these games, but the Chiefs could have won even more, especially against that Denver one that was supposedly the blueprint. I almost titled it Chiefs Blueprint or Mahomes Blueprint, but it'll throw people off. So it is what it is. But you guys want to go back and watch that. Definitely worth your time. And I truly enjoyed that as well. Noah Gray's coming along for me. You guys are going to get that before he's on the field for actual camp. It should be out next week. We have some extra things coming. I am trying to piece it all together, but there's a lot going on. Training camp is coming. We'll discuss that later, but I want to get in before we get to there's Cole, you had an interesting question about a backup long snapper. I can't answer that. I have no idea. Without Sherm around, I'm not sure. I'm guessing it's Kelsey, but I don't know. That's a tough one. Ben had a question so thank you for contributing, and I want to make sure you get that right now. So do we judge our depth not just by numbers, by talent as well? Absolutely. You definitely have to have an X factor in the talent side so that if somebody goes down that's good, you have not just a guy off the street from Piggly Wiggly last week that can walk in there and actually produce. That's the key.
Sometimes that actually works out to your advantage. And like, look at the Eagles. Did Greg Ward and Travis Fulgham come out of nowhere and produce? Sometimes it works out, but the depth, it's all about getting guys that maybe aren't going to be superstars, but they can come out and be solid. And if you just have numbers back there, like you pointed out, it's not really going to help. And we kind of saw that at the end of last year, especially on the offensive line. You're just throwing bodies out there and you're trying to figure out a different way to get the most out of them, and you can't just plug and play. That becomes an issue. So the depth definitely has to have some sort of talent, or probably in the best case, just being a guy that you can go out there and say, just don't be bad. Like, that's all you really need. Just don't be bad.
Let's avoid being terrible. Okay, sold. Sounds like most of my life. I like
best I can tell you.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Daryl. Yeah. You set me up perfectly for my first topic. What Seth and I were going to go through originally, so we're going to keep with that. And you took a nice spin on it. Like, we talk about the offensive line coming together as a new unit, but what about the defensive line? Jaron Reed is a big part of that. It's a big change in there. Yes, you have Chris and Frank and a couple of younger guys that have been in the rotation. Jaron changes things. I think he brings an edge to him as well, and I don't mean an edge position, but like a nastiness, you know? I'm looking forward to that, and I will show you guys what I've been doing the last couple of days while I'm trying to get as much. I'm holding out for one more all-22 for Noah Gray instead of just the 2 that I have. So I'm pulling all my cards, and we'll see what happens. I agree with you, Larry. I'm looking forward to that. And I don't even know how you greet someone from Switzerland, but welcome.
Maybe drop it in the chat and let us know.
Yeah, please. I don't know a greeting. I know the Austrians speak German, so I probably could have gotten away with that, but no, that one's not me. So I know we have a couple of under here, and we'll get to them, including Joe's under 5 NFL forfeits due to the COVID thing. We'll talk about the COVID. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to leave it up for right now, you guys, because I want to show you this. I'm going to share my screen over here because I did put a graphic together for you, and the staff has already seen this, Dan. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it or not, but I'm going to let you see. So this is what I've been working on, folks. Let me take the name tags off here. This is based on last year's efforts. And this is what a lot of you have been questioning, like, why are you guys so high on Taco? This is why. Yeah. Because no, he didn't play a ton of snaps. But when you break it down on a per snap for pass rush, and I don't look at total snaps, I'm looking at pass rush snaps. When you break it down like that, this is what it reveals about it. And that is that he got the most pressures per snap of any edge rusher on this roster. That's important. Now, what this shows in red is how much pressure they're getting divided by how many pass rush snaps they have. And you can see here, much to everyone's chagrin, that what I think is going to be about a $2.5 million contract for Alex Okafor, it was very, very on par with what Frank Clark was able to produce too. And that's why I know a couple of you in the comments have been lately, why are you so worried about it if he's not that good? It's because he has the potential to be good. He has been underperforming. And the thing about it is, at his rate of pay, at his contract, you expect that he'll bump back up at some point. And so it is about that ceiling that I don't think we've seen, honestly, since the playoff run for the Super Bowl.
No, you're exactly right. And I was reading Brandon Thorne's top 50 defensive, or actually just total linemen, essentially a lineman top 50 that he has up on his stream, his Substack, excuse me. And Frank Clark was actually an honorable mention. He almost made his top 50. They closed out, I think it was with I don't remember exactly who it was that they closed out with, but he was on the honorable mention list. So Brandon Thorne, someone who is one of the foremost people who understand not only offensive line play but defensive line play, knows that Frank Clark has something there. He's studied a bunch of his tape. He knows that he's a good player. So what we've seen the last 2 years is not indicative of even what he was in Seattle or what they thought he was going to be coming over to Kansas City. And that's why when you have that much talent, it's in there and you get a little antsy and frustrated like a lot of the fans are about him not producing that. And that's why you probably will see him stay on the Chiefs if that, plays out that way, because there's something there and they're trying to get it out.
Yeah. And that's what they should be doing. And that's where it comes down to. I want to explain that to you guys. And I want you to see this too, because this is pressures on a per snap basis. And so you can see that Okafor, Frank, Taco at the edges. Mike Dana was the next one. So he was already as a rookie ahead of what Tano Pasnian was producing. And here's the other thing. In blue is what you're seeing is in those snaps that they do get a pressure. How much of them, I call it a finish rate. How much are you getting the sack? So are you falling short? And what's nice about this is that it shows you Okafor is already outperforming almost at a 2-to-1 rate like his percentage of sacks of the pressures versus his percentage of pressures. Whereas Frank Clark is about even. Look at Taco. If Taco puts it all together, he has yet to learn to finish consistently.
Mm-hmm.
He could make another leap if he's able to stay on the field. And that's what's encouraging to me about this graphic in particular when you knock it all down. But this is just ends. And so I did another one. Let's see if I can get that to come up well. It doesn't look like it wants to. So I'm going to have to change it. And then I'm going to have to change the share, of course, because, nothing works right the way that I want to.
Of course not.
No, it would just be.
But I mean, if you guys saw, Mike Dana was out there closing down sacks. He doesn't get a lot of pressures, but when he does, guess what? He's closing.
Right. And that's the upside. And that's why I expanded it. So this is the guys that are likely to play on the front, the whole front. And we know that they can do a little bit more of a mismatch, and we know that there's going to be a new lineup. But you're right about Dana. And when you look here, you see he and Okafor were actually hitting at the same percentage of their pressures were sacks. That's a good sign. Look at Jaron Reed. He doesn't get a ton of pressures, about the same as Turk Wharton, but he finishes 3-to-1 in his ratio. That is exceptional in terms of being able to, when you get an opportunity, to make the play that actually makes the most in terms of the impact on down and yardage. It's fun.
So what I'm interested about the Reed thing is that this is specifically when he generates a pressure, correct?
Yes.
So the blue is when so it's not him cleaning up sacks.
Correct.
That's the thing, is because people will point to your cleanup sacks is something that that Brandon does a very good job of pointing out that he's got these stacks, but that's why he breaks down his true sack percentage, which is truly incredible and worth your time and read. I love what he does, and he shows you the difference between high quality sacks and being the reason you're getting these sacks, and the fact that Jaron Reed is out there closing on his sacks with really no help outside in that defensive front. Guess what? He's going to have Frank Clark, Alex Okafor, Chris Jones, Taco Charlton, and all these guys. So he's probably going to start to outproduce some of that pressure production. So
yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to point out to everyone is right next to Jaron Reed, it's Tershawn Wharton. And Wharton is producing pressure at about the same rate. He hit the rookie wall. We all know that. He's slowed down. When he continues to work on his technique, we're going to see him take a step forward in his second year. I have absolutely no doubt of that. But the nice thing was, when he was able to get a chance, he was pretty good at converting his pressure opportunities into actual sacks. And that's a positive step for this season as well.
Man, Tershawn Wharton's got some strong hands too. When he gets around there, he gets close. Guess what? You're not going anywhere.
Right?
You're not going anywhere.
So that's the Rogue Analytics corner of the week.
Awesome.
I wanted to share with you guys. This is what I do when I'm not editing, sleeping, or eating. So I just wanted you guys to have an idea.
So the 10 minutes a day that he gets to himself.
Right. So good one, Gooch. I like that. Who's the imposter? Hi, Dan.
I didn't ever say that I was Seth. Okay, I know that it says Chief of the North up there, but I tried to preface it. It's me. It's Dan. It's Dan. This doesn't look like Seth.
When you are a media member extraordinaire like Seth is, sometimes you need some help, and that's exactly what we're doing here.
No big deal. I'm always available to fill in too. Everyone knows that.
And Gooch, I wasn't knocking Piggly Wiggly. It's just a long shot. There's Kurt Warner and there's Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner, exactly. So on to Joseph's question, and this is good. This is really what it boils down to, because the NFL put out this huge memo today. That they're going to penalize teams that have outbreaks if the cause is because someone's unvaccinated. Basically, the NFL doesn't want anybody to mess with their business.
Nope.
So they're pushing their players, and they cannot mandate that somebody has to have a vaccination. And there's legitimate reasons to be concerned about it and not want to do it. This is what it comes down to, is what Joseph's asking is, how often do you think this is going to happen? And quite frankly, 5 is really interesting. I would probably put it around there because the way things are going, and if you guys don't know, my day job is in healthcare, so I see all these statistics all the time. And for me, once you get an outbreak, I think what you're going to have is you're going to see that it's reached a point in society that it's made its way on the teams. And so I think there could be 1 or 2 5 is right about where I think the maximum is. So I would take the under on this myself. I don't know how you feel, Dan.
It really depends because there are like 4 to 5 teams with under 50% vaccination rate, and the Washington football team is like 38% vaccination rate. If it stays like that into the season, I'm going to go over. I think I would go over because one, that tells you that they don't necessarily care about the repercussions that the NFL has come out and said, basically, you're not going to get the pay for that. We're going to make it so you get a loss and all these tiebreakers go against you because you didn't want to get the vaccinations. And they're not going to, like I said, they're not going to let anybody mess with the money that they're going to be making. And they put the hammer down today and said, guess what? You guys want to get losses? You want to give up paychecks? Go for it.
I got nothing else. I mean, it's a two-edged sword. I don't believe anybody should be forced to take anything they don't want to take. That said, I got vaccinated. If you choose not to, that's your call. This is an invasion of your body, and as far as I'm concerned, but there will be people that will tell you NFL is a private business. It's not a public entity. They can run their business however they want. And when you dumb that down to like, if I run a 10-person business, if all the guys at RGR were on my staff, we all worked out of one room, it's not fair for me to be told what I can and can't do with my business either. So you can play it on both sides, and there's a legitimate argument on both sides. And I think that's going to lead to some of the things. I know a couple of you guys mentioned Nuke Hopkins has said he's seriously considering whether he's going to play this season or not. Now, I don't know if that's just a social media super fast reaction or if that's legit.
He deleted that tweet. I don't think he's considering not playing. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that because I would hate to see him, but and that's an interesting point to this. Good point, Holly. And yes, you were absolutely right, Gooch. I don't know if you typed that before I said it, but I'm not channeling you. I promise. But for me, I wonder if the stronger reaction can come from guys that are more veteran-like that can say, okay, the NFL is forcing this for the NFL's sake, but I might not be in the NFL more than another year or two.
Yeah.
Or 3, I think it's different for the vets versus the young guys myself.
And I think it's extremely different for those on the verge of the cut line for this entire season. Guess what? If you're not vaccinated, this is what's going to happen with a lot of NFL teams. If you're not vaccinated and you're on the edge of being cut, they're just going to cut you. They're not going to mess around with it because they're not going to put their team in risk of getting a loss because could potentially cause an issue. Like that's what they're going to take the chances with guys that are vaccinated over ones that aren't. That's just how it's going to be. And yeah, they can't force anyone to get the vaccination. They just can make it very, very, very worth your time to do that if that's what they're doing. And that's clearly what the NFL and teams are going to do. And I think that if you're obviously entrenched in your job, like I said, some of the top guys that are veterans, they don't necessarily have to worry about it so much. But some of the younger guys that are trying to make squads, I think they're going to have to.
And I don't agree with that philosophically.
No, I don't either.
But you're right. That's what the league is going to do to protect their business. And I know we all love sport, folks. That's why we do this. The NFL is a business, and it's a business first, and that's what they're going to do to protect it. So, Aaron did make it. Glad you're here, buddy. As is obviously Gooch and Keys are here as always. Jay, Seth had something come up. Last night he let me know, so we kind of shifted things. Not changing the normal course of things. It will be Thursday night with Seth, and unless we're playing Thursday night, we'll probably do more of a preview show. Maybe he'll get to do the breakdown with me. That should be fun because putting Seth on the spot without having time to review the film, he's not going to like that.
Yeah, that's something that Ryan and I have worked out over the course of the last year. We liked to do that, and Seth definitely likes to have his time to watch the film.
Yeah, he doesn't like being wrong.
No,
I'm okay with it. Gooch, thank you as always. We defend Frank so vehemently. If it was any other player making $20 million and not producing, the pitchforks and fires would be out. And you're not wrong. It is one of those things, and I still feel, at least for me personally, I still feel that there's something going on with him that is keeping him from what his ceiling ought to be. And so I'm holding out hope that he gets there. And quite frankly, they're stuck with him unless something comes of this legal thing that allows them to get out of it. So
yeah, and I mean, like, I think that what he's brought to the team in terms of the way the team thinks about playing defense really is a different kind of thing because he's actually impacted it that way. But again, I'm not happy with what he's done, but I also have watched him in Seattle, and I know that there's a much better player under there. Like, he's a much better player than what we've seen. So if it was just some guy that came over and didn't produce at all, that was never actually like that good, yeah, I'm going to get mad about it. But if there's something there, I'm going to get mad about what he hasn't done, but also try to understand that there's a reason that he's, one, is here in the first place, and two, that there's something there you can try to get off. And I think that he's got some, whatever, if it's a stomach issue or if he was just, saving himself last year. I don't know what happened with the stomach issue last year. I think that it was bothering him more than he let on. I think he looked lighter, like Ryan's talked about in the past. I think he was much lighter last year than he was the years prior. So it's become an issue. And if they haven't been able to get it taken care of, and if he can't get it taken care of, then that's where the issue really lies, because we don't know, and we're never going to know what actually goes on unless he himself comes out and says what the issue is, because that's just the kind of player and organization that the Chiefs run. They're very tight knit, and they don't give things out unless they mean to.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want it straightened out. I mean, honestly, there's a health issue like for him longevity wise too for the rest of his life. So like, there's enough reason on both sides. So, Holly, thank you. I'm glad that you like those. I try to break it down visually because I'm a visual learner, so that helps me as well. Gooch, thank you, sir. This is a good one. Keys had a good point, and trust when a player shows you who they are. We got Reed to help Frank. If he doesn't produce this year, do we start recruiting people who played with him in high school and try to bring out the potential? All right. I get what you're saying. And you have a fair point, especially Reed should be a multiplier for him. If that doesn't work, then yeah, it's time. You can't keep hoping. I'd have to look at the numbers about what's feasible in terms of an actual release and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think next season is more in jeopardy for Frank Clark legally than it is now, just because the churn of the legal system is not known to be quick. So I honestly can't tell you when we'll know something about that. But hey, it is what it is. Thank you, Gooch. And Daryl, I want to make sure I get yours. Guys, I'm not skipping questions. We're not going to do all Q&A, but we're going to try to do more of them tonight. But Super Chatters, I will definitely get all of you no matter what. Why can't Taco stay on the field? Is it training? I don't know what he's done in the past, but I do know that he has worked with a number of trainers, and he changed this offseason as well. I don't know if it's a particular it doesn't seem to be the same thing over and over. No. So it's not like Sammy with hamstrings. So part of that seems to me to be luck. Like, as long, quite frankly, as he's got his lower body straightened out, I don't think, to my knowledge, he's had an upper body injury. So I'm feeling pretty confident about that. And hopefully another year with Rick Burkholder's team, they're very good at soft tissue work. So I think that will help. And knock on wood, he could stay on the field this year.
There's just some players, man, that just have this issue. It just, everyone's going to be more susceptible to injuries or pulling something here or tearing something there. That's just the nature of playing football and having everybody be a different person and have different ways that they can test things. And it doesn't ever always show up in college. Sammy got, I think, hurt once in college a little bit, and then he came into the NFL, and that's when it actually started to break down for him. He really just started to get injured all the time. And Taco was really the same. He was a different player in college, and he didn't get injured a lot, but he's had a string of injuries with the Cowboys, now with the Chiefs. So it just depends. Some people bodies don't hold up to the competition bump. That's kind of really what it comes down to, I think, is you're playing the fastest, the strongest, and the toughest sport at the highest level in the NFL. If people are flying all around, some bodies just aren't going to take it as well as some others do. That's an unfortunate part of the reality of playing football. So hopefully, like when I talked about, Taco can keep it there, and hopefully his shell doesn't fall apart. Like when you get those tacos and you try to stuff too much in it and the bottoms break, You don't want that. And Taco's been like doing that up until now. So maybe they have some better tacos this year.
No. This is not soggy taco syndrome. No, I am not. Oh,
that's kind of what it is, though.
You guys, if you do like, if you are a fan of tacos, taco trucks, taco things around town, a good friend of my brother's runs a podcast called Taco Time, and it's all about where you can eat the best tacos in the Kansas City area. So go check that out on iTunes. He's
I will
incredible.
be checking that out.
Please do. He's hilarious. One of my brother's best and oldest friends. It's hilarious. Dre, you and I have something to talk about. There is a new barbecue joint in Colorado from Kansas City, and a guy who actually competed just last week at the big barbecue competition at Arrowhead. I haven't heard how he did, but there's a new option. I might actually be able to eat barbecue in this state. I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. Okay. Just things that only I care about. Brandon, could you see the Chiefs go out and get an established pass rusher next year if Frank doesn't work out like Danielle Hunter or even Chandler this year? It's funny that you ask that because Matt, Derek, and I talked about that just yesterday on Locked On Chiefs. It's here on YouTube. We have a Locked On Chiefs channel too, and it's on all the normal podcast links. And that's what we thought. Like, Alex Okafor was a simple plug-in. Pretty productive when he's on the field, obviously an injury history, and he knows the system. It was a no-brainer to bring him in, particularly if they get cap relief from either a Tyrann Mathieu extension, which I do still expect here in the next week, or if something allows them, like the commissioner's list allows them to recoup some cap from Frank Clark. That's about the only way that I think that they could do that. But I do think it is on the table. I will also say this. If you guys see, I can't remember how the other day on the podcast, but if you guys see like a former number one round, first round pick that isn't working out for somebody in some other team, don't be surprised if Brett Veach is, beating the bushes here to try to find somebody who's willing to part with a former first rounder that he thinks he can rehabilitate, as he always does. I think this position might be one of the ones, this and corner might be ripe for that. So keep an eye out. Great question, Brandon.
That's very true. But I think the Chiefs have run the mill of getting free agent and trading player in terms of defensive ends. I think it's time that they invest that this next year. If it doesn't work out with Frank, they're going to have, Taco's going to be a free agent. They're going to have Okafor going to be a free agent. They're going to have to invest in the position in the draft. And luckily for them, it's a very strong defensive end class this coming year. I would love to see my guy.
Are you a Thibodeau guy?
I like Thibodeau. I like him, but he's going to go like probably top 15.
Yeah.
I think
they'd have to trade up to get
15. Him. Yeah, they're going to have to. But the defensive end out of Michigan is, I actually just lost his name. I was just thinking about him earlier today. Actually.
How dare you? They're going to take your colors back.
Aiden Hutchinson is the guy that I would love to see in KC. I think he's going to be a top 3 defensive end in the class, but I think it'll end up being a reach. So we'll see. But I do think they're going to have to, at some point, get a younger defensive end that they can actually be a plug and play starter for them. So first round draft capital kind of thing, because getting guys like Frank Clark, one, it's going to cost you more money, as we all know. And these looking at hopeful developmental prospects, it's only going to pan out so far. I think Dana is going to be a good player, but you still need to have elite pass rush in the NFL. You have to. And good players only get you so far. I think that getting someone in the first round that has that potential that you're not paying right away is a good way to go about it, because guys like Danielle Hunter and Chandler Jones are going to be $20+ million players too. And you also got to try to compound that going forward with, they want to invest in offense, and obviously Mahomes' contract's going to get, more expensive and things like that. So ideally you'd like to get a defensive end in the first round, I think, this coming year.
No, I agree. And I will say this too. There are some guys that have become great pass rushers that, didn't hit it right off the bat in the NFL. So there's room for Mike Dana to improve. I'm looking for a big season from him in terms of a step forward. Dustin, thank you for putting that out. I hadn't seen the release yet. I enjoy that. I think they do a great job with it. If you missed my appearance in the franchise back in 2019, you can go back and check that out the day that that they focused on Sherman arriving at camp. There's some voiceover in there from me. So cheers to the Chiefs media group. They do a great job, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Afro Samurai, I am totally with you. I liked what he did when he was here. I know that he got the contract and it pulled back a little bit. Like, I'm a fan of Agba. I was when he was in Cleveland as well. So I kind of wish that had happened too, but it just Tetris-wise, fitting all the financial puzzle together just wasn't happening. So
I mean, him and Taco had similarly productive seasons in terms of what they did. Then they got hurt. Like, it was just kind of funny how they turned that over from one year with Agba. Did almost the same thing with Taco. Just didn't accumulate that way.
Yeah, it sucks when that happens, but unfortunately it happens all the time. So Ben, thank you again for the super chat. We appreciate the support. I will scan down below to see for your comment. Thank you, Aaron, for pointing that out. Yeah, you can go over there and subscribe. I would appreciate that if you'd like and subscribe. Do the thing over there at the Locked On channel as well, because it's another way. It's funny that there are a lot of people that watch RGR and know who we are, but have never even heard of Locked On Chiefs, and a lot of the opposite too. So like, I always find that interesting, but hey, it's great. And Aaron, you're right. Stuff's coming to the store. I got a couple things in the works, and you can get all the Trooper gear now. It is available. Dre had a question. If we were playing fantasy this year and you could get any Chief, Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek, who would you take? It's the quarterback for me, as always. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, I'm going to take Travis Kelce because, one, he is that much better than everyone in his position. He's going to outproduce all the tight ends by a large margin. As much as I love Patrick Mahomes, we all know this, fantasy is a different thing. I don't think he's going to finish as the QB1 this year. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a chance to do that. I think Josh Allen's going to have a chance to do that. It's different with quarterback. And since there are so many elite fantasy quarterbacks in the NFL, there aren't many elite fantasy tight ends. And Travis Kelce is the elite fantasy tight end. So this year, out of the three, I'm taking Travis Kelce.
Okay, that's fair. And folks, Dan knows more about fantasy than I do because I play only one league, and it's a 7-year dynasty league that is very specific to the league. We try to emulate the league. The quarterbacks score more than an average, a standard scoring league. So that makes perfect sense. For us, I mean, we run independent, individual defensive players. Like, we do the whole thing.
Oh, the whole IDP stuff. That's weird. We won finally.
We actually build rosters that emulate what the league does, in that it's all about the quarterback and then what your individual defensive players can do. Like, we do a lot. It's a bunch of wannabe GMs. Thanks, Trey. Jake, thank you for your super chat. If Jones becomes wildly successful and makes an A+ transition to the outside, do you expect any unintended consequences of that move? I expect a couple, actually. I think Tershawn Wharton could become the next serious inside pass rush guy. I think Colin Saunders could actually get a chance to improve again, because I like Colin a lot. I'm pulling for him. Tershawn walked in and was better at what he does. So he does have some things to make up. I think those are two unintended consequences that will come from wanting to get Chris on the edge, and let's hope that it works out.
Yeah. So any like bad things happen? No, I don't think that there's any like bad things that could happen, because that's when I read consequence, that's what I see. I see something that could be bad. I agree with Ryan that there's probably only good things that can happen because of that. And really, if you get Jones being what he wanted to be when he came into the NFL, which was a defensive end, but he was like, you're going to ask me to play 3 tech? Okay, I'm going to play 3 tech. And guess what? He's the second best defensive tackle in the NFL. So if you could get him to produce what he wanted to do all along, you're getting a consistent defensive end. You can pair with Frank Clark, and you can actually kind of not necessarily have to worry about Frank Clark going into the future if that becomes available to you. But again, it's one season. So maybe you wait and you scale that back to see if he can produce again next year. It's all about consistency. You don't want a pop-off year and then guess what? You're left without defensive ends. So
yeah. Yeah. Consequences. I got to read better. Sorry.
No, I think that you interpreted it correctly. When I saw consequences, I was just assuming that he may have intended, bad things, but I don't think that that's possible. Really,
I was just rethinking my answer, see if I could have changed that, but hey, 65 TPT. Really, it's 1.5. We both feel Creed's going to start. Dan, who would be the half? I bet you know what I think.
The half, I think most people assume it's Trey Smith. I don't even think he has a shot. He shouldn't, in my opinion. I don't think he should at all.
I agree with you. It's the injury thing to the two older guys in front of him. So I think there is a possibility, but it would have to be a pretty tight scenario, in my opinion.
I think that there are 4 players that should play right guard above Trey Smith. I think there are 4 of them. And I have no ill will towards Trey Smith. I think he's going to be a very good pro. Oh, yeah. But I've watched his tape. He's not ready to be an NFL starter. And I'm not ready to say that he can come in and this offensive line would be very good. I think that if he's stuck being the starter because of injury, what have you, I think it's a detriment to the offensive line because experience, and youth can mesh. They can mesh. But if you've got a right side composed of, from Creed to Smith to Niang, I think that's a bad mashup. I think it's bad. I think that you could put Remmers at right guard. I think you could put, obviously LDT. You could have Blythe probably should be even starting even before him, in my opinion. So I think there are many other players that should and can play right guard before Trey Smith does. But that's just me.
There's a pop filter on your mic there, bro.
Man, I'm so not used to having this in my face. I can just throw my hands around, and this is it's all up in there.
Hey, look, this comes off too. Holy cow.
Mine doesn't actually fit on here, so I have to use this.
Oh, man. I tell you what, though, for 2022, I could see that lineup working.
I do, too.
They just need that year.
Please. I would love it. That'd be ideal. You have two sophomores and a guy who was essentially a rookie last year. They're all young, and they're going to be starting for you for years. Yeah, I get it.
And honestly, we'll have a better idea if there's any inkling. The next couple of days are going to be good. They're going to be reporting tomorrow. The rookie class is. So we'll have a concept there. 65, another good one. Does Ward lose his starting job to Hughes or Baker? I don't think so. Not right now. Hughes isn't ready. Baker's not physically on the field yet. I'll be really interested to see if he actually gets on the field in camp.
If Baker's on the field in camp, I think Ward can lose his spot by midseason.
Maybe. Yeah. Definitely not to begin with, though. They like him. I know we're frustrated with him. They like him. That's what it comes down to. Brett, do you think Thornhill has the potential to become equal to Matthew as a player?
That's a tough question.
It'd have to go really well. I think he can become a Pro Bowl player. Can he become an All-Pro? A guy that changes an entire defense like Tyron does? I think it's in his ceiling, but that's here. That's not about what he is physically. It's not about where he is now. It's about learning from Tyron, and maybe that's what gives him the edge. So maybe it is a yes.
So I think he does. I think he has it. But again, like you said, it's all about the mental game because physically he's already one of the best free safeties in the NFL. Physically, he can do everything. But the way that Matthew changes games is with his mind. He does everything. He can see what's happening before it happens. So that's why you see him be in places really before the quarterback does. He can see all that happening. So if Matthew has done and continue to develop the mental side of Thornhill, I think that's where we really see him become an all-pro type of free safety. That's what I truly believe.
I completely agree with you. And I'll tell you this too, I wanted to throw this out before I say this. If you guys want to continue to support the man that supported me on this channel and in the podcast, go get one of these.
Please do.
This is Terez's foundation. You can donate to the foundation if you want, but this goes to it as well. And I bring that up to say Charles Robinson is going to go on their podcast in lieu of Terez, and I am thankful for that. And Charles, if you ever see this, I'm thankful that you're doing that. They brought up an interesting thing that Charles on his podcast, this first one back, said something that there was some talk that maybe Tom Brady was saying that he was targeting Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann certainly blew up in that Super Bowl. I can see the fact that even the elite, even though they know the game that well, can sometimes be manipulated by other great players who understand what they do. So there's always room to improve, even for a great like Tyrann Mathieu.
And I listened to it too. I appreciate you, Charles. It was a great episode back, and I'm extremely looking forward to hearing how the podcast develops, continuing to have Terez as a part of it, it's such a great homage to him. He was an incredible person. You guys are doing a great job, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But I 100% believe that Tom Brady used Matthew's intelligence against him in that game. He made him do things that before Brady threw the ball that he wanted him to do, and I think Matthew knew it. I think as soon as the ball went over his head or wherever it was away from where he was going, he knew that Brady was manipulating him. Because even, like you said, the greats can get manipulated when they're as good at what they do and seeing things unfold as Matthew is. And unfortunately, even Tom Brady can get manipulated that way too. You can make Brady see some things, and if you can get pressure on him, he's gonna do the exact same kind of thing. He's gonna read and react, which he does all the time. And you saw in the first game, the Chiefs were able to make him make those mistakes. He underthrew a couple balls to Mike Evans, and the Chiefs got interceptions on them. So it's all about playing that game. And yeah, I think that Brady was talking a lot of crap about Matthew in that podcast. And I think that I guarantee you that Matthew's heard it. So he's gonna be ready for this year.
Yeah, I feel like that as well. And I know there's all this. He said something on Twitter again. Remember what he said in the presser a couple months ago, you guys. He tweets a lot and he deletes a lot of tweets. Don't worry about what he's tweeting. Okay. It's not worth the aggravation. I swear it's going to be all right. Pure Clutch, thank you for the question. Top competition for the Chiefs in the AFC. I say Browns because they got better on defense and healthier on both sides of the ball. They are juicy. I will tell you this. I agree with you. Like, they have the best running back in the league. I vote in the Locked On Network's rankings every year. I'm one of the guys that gets to do that. And I have Nick Chubb as my RB1, period. I don't really care if somebody catches more passes or is more elusive once they do or has better yak, because he can do it all. He can hurt you in any way that he wants to. And I look forward to him becoming a free agent landing in Kansas City. I'm just going to say that. I know. I just wanted to put it out there. You don't get what you don't ask for. So, hey, it is what it is. But I would say also, I think a lot of people are sleeping on the fact that, yes, Julio has been hurt. Julio in Tennessee makes almost an indefensible wide receiver pair, unless you have two guys that are long, tall, and fast. Chiefs have 1.5 of those. So there is something to the Tennessee Titans. They have me a little bit nervous.
I still think it's going to be the Browns by the end of the season. I don't think in the beginning of the season they're going to be ready for what Andy Reid throws at them. It's no defense is that you can't prepare for Andy Reid coming off an offseason. You can't. It's impossible because of everything that he does. Mahomes, everything it's just different the way he attacks defenses coming out of an offseason. So I do think that it's going to be the Browns. I'm not as worried about the Titans myself because I think Arthur Smith is a huge key in that whole cog. And I don't think that they're going to be the same offense without him, but they're going to still be a very good offense. The problem is that they don't have a defense. So for me, at the end of the day, like, yeah, you can put up points, but we saw how that happened against the Rams, in 2018 with the Chiefs end up losing that game 54-51. Like, It doesn't matter so much if you can't stop anybody. So I truly believe that it's going to be the Browns by the end of the season. I still will hold myself to change my mind depending on what the Buffalo Bills defense looks like.
Okay.
Because ideally, I don't see improvement yet. It's all about what they did in the offseason. Until we see that improvement, I'm not ready to crown them. But if they do improve on the defensive side, I would say it's the Bills.
Okay. They were my number 2 as well.
Yeah.
So we both see the second competition as them. I like that. Alex, thank you for your super chat. And you asked about is it a problem not having a veteran presence in the CB room? I think it is, especially when your leader right now, it needs to be Javarius Ward, and he's not a very vocal guy from what I understand. So I do think that it is something that could bite them, but they have a lot of hungry guys, a lot of youth that is hungry to be on that field. Baker brings an edge. Obviously, Snead brings an edge. I think they're going to be all right.
Yeah, I think that Matthew is more than capable of being that leader in the quarterback room. I think that he's got more than enough talk for anybody, for any room, for multiple rooms. So he's more than capable of doing that too.
Dre, what game do you have circled? For me, it is the Titans.
It was going to be the Packers game. Mm-hmm. If Aaron Rodgers plays, it'll be the Packers game. Well,
maybe it should be the Denver games, right? That would be my secondary because you might end up there.
Yeah, but I'm going to the Bills game, so that one's going to be circled on my schedule too. So I hope to see any of you guys there.
Good. I hope that you will. I don't know if then I'll make it, but hey.
No.
J7, thank you for your super chat. We appreciate it. I'll look for a comment down below. Miss Holly, thank you very much. What are you most curious about, interested in to see the rookies reporting into training camp? I want to see what Cornell Powell's done in the last month and a half. Like, has things sunk in? Can he attack a DB a little bit more like the Chiefs want him to? That's my question. That's
the juiciest question and the juiciest answer you could possibly give, because Cornell Powell is going to be awesome. And I'm not able to contain myself anymore. When I talk about Cornell Powell, I just cannot contain how excited I am about the way he can play in this offense. I think that he's got some of the most underrated speed, burst that came out of the class. Obviously, being a fifth round draft pick, I can't contain myself, and I can't wait to see what he does at camp. And I want him to take on L'Jarius Sneed. I want to see those battles one-on-one. You got to go up against the best to see what you've got, because I think he's probably the second best route runner on the team.
I got 38 already.
That's fine, but I just want to see what he can do. Okay. I need to see it. See what he can do.
And by the way, I like the tie-in keys. Do you see what Dan's doing here? He's taking over the juicy thing from Seth.
I'm trying, guys. I know that there are a lot of people in here that, yes, you come to see Seth, and I greatly appreciate it. I'm sure he does too. So I'm doing what I can,
right,
to give you the juicy content that you want and that you need.
I can't believe this is still a thing. That's hilarious.
I'm going to make it a thing.
Yeah,
I'm going to put it in my videos now.
Holly, the other thing is I want to see what they do with Noah Gray. We're going to get more out of the next week than we got out of all of OTAs in terms of beat reporters being able to see stuff. So I am interested to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be the two linebackers.
Yeah.
Willie Gay and Nick Bolton specifically. I need to see what he's going to do in this defense. Need to see him moving better. So
yeah,
got to see.
I mean, and this week he'll have a chance to make the calls. So that's going to be a step forward too. Stevie, I keep hearing Tyron say, and the other chief resources reporting interviews that they've had him, that Ward impresses him and his value. Well, yeah.
What's he supposed to say, guys?
I'll take it to this point, Stevie. When I was either on a team or as a coach, the guys that I would spend time pumping up were the guys that were right on the edge of not being able to put out enough, that I needed to lift up and get more performance out of them. I can't say that's what Tyron's doing, but that's what I'd be doing.
That's all right. I'll say it for you. Tyron Matthew, the coaching staff, 100% believes that he needs to step up, because what he did last year was not good enough. And if you want to make this team, you want to be on this team for the future and not get cut, you need to start stepping up, because it's not good enough what you did last year, especially now that Breeland's not there to catch your back. You have to be the veteran on that cornerback room. You have to step up, not just in a leadership role, but on the field. You have to, or guess what? You're out.
So much for subtlety. Thanks, Dan.
No problem.
Brett, interesting question. Do you think they made a mistake letting Jared Allen go? He was going to open a restaurant and everything. There are some extenuating circumstances. Remember, there was a big DUI. There was a big stink at the time. Yeah. The restaurant was actually right down from where my brother lived at the time. And there was a lot of concern with people trying to run that business as well. So I won't say that I liked everything that King Carl did, but I think that probably at the time was a decision that had to be made. So it sucks, but it is what it is.
It is. I love Jared Allen. I love
him. And Harlan, you're good, man. Don't worry about it. This is why Seth and I try to do things together, because not everybody comes for both of us. So, hey, he will be back. I'm sorry you had to sit through just us, but
I'm sorry. I really am. I know.
You guys are going to dig it when I'm not here, and it's Dan and Seth. Let's see. Pono, how are you? Aloha to you, pal. Brady told President Biden that a lot of people still can't believe they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's Brady being his snarky self. Yeah, I guess people can see that he fixed more games in the end. Well, is it a question now? I mean, there was always, is it Brady, is it Belichick in terms of on the field? Maybe this sheds a little bit light on what the off-field things might have been as well. I don't know.
Yeah, this everything that Brady does, that he says, the whole Patriot mentality about how people are out to get us and they don't believe in us, that's Brady. That's all Brady. It's always been Brady, because Bill Belichick doesn't give two you-know-whats about what anybody thinks. He doesn't care. Bill Belichick we're honest. He doesn't care.
Right.
He does whatever he wants to do. Tom Brady is the one who's getting older and his skills, his movement, stuff like that are declining. He has to keep his mind mentally engaged. He's playing forever. He wants to play 2 more years. You have to find ways to get that competitive advantage. You can only do so much by pumping yourself up on the field with what he does. His whole let's go stuff. Like, he has to keep himself mentally engaged around the clock 365 days a year to continue to play this game at a high level. So everything that you hear about the whole people still can't believe they won a Super Bowl and stuff like that, it's all Brady trying to keep himself at the top of his mental game. That's all it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. And hey, you're standing in front of a guy that's the president of the United States. Crack a joke that maybe he likes. I don't know. And he's no comedian, I'll just say that. But thank you, Paul.
Yes,
the Bruto question. With Devin Key getting more reps in minicamp and now into training camp, do you see him beating out Armani Watts for the remaining roster spot? That's the question. I do believe it is very clear to me that Will Parks should be the 4th safety without a doubt.
No doubt.
The question is, A, do they keep 5, or do they have so much talent at corner that they decide to keep 6 corners and only 4 safeties? And that is exactly the argument. Is it Armani, who knows the special teams, can perform there, or is it Devin that has maybe a little bit more upside? That's the question. What kind can Riley Cole become a TJ Watt kind of linebacker? No. He's not a pass rusher of anywhere near that kind of caliber.
Isn't he like a small guy? Smaller guy?
He's smaller. What is he, 6'2", 240, something like that? So, I mean, he's not small. He's not TJ size, but quite frankly, TJ is a bendy, toolsy pass rusher. I've seen nothing from Riley Cole that even admits that. He's an off-ball linebacker to begin with, and when he did rush, I didn't see him successfully defeat blocks in any kind of way. So, no, not exactly a fit there, bud. Harlan, you're going to the Titans game. I'll want to report from that, my friend.
Yes.
I am going to be there for the last home game right around Christmas because I'll be home for Christmas. I don't know if I'm going to make it to any others. We're going to have to see about it. I may be moving. You guys, I might have better internet someday if I get another place. I'm working on it. But yeah, this fall in terms of when I can travel is going to be very up in the air for me. So I appreciate that. And Sam, I appreciate you. Well done. You got that juice team. I like it. That's what we need to do. If you guys would give Ebony a shout out on Twitter, that would be great. I know as things go on, they don't necessarily get easier. And so I know that she's hurting, and I know that Charles is putting a lot into that podcast, and it almost feels like a Chiefs podcast sometimes. But
yeah,
I think while I will always miss Terez's insights because, I mean, I can't think of somebody else that wasn't one of my coaches that has taught me as much about the game as Terez did. And for those of you who didn't see anything from when he passed, I let loose some of the things. Every show you ever saw Terez do with us that was 20 minutes or half an hour, there's at least 3 times that where we just sat around and talked football outside of that. And that's the kind of guy that he was. So I just want to say that out loud. But thank you, Sam. And everybody, if you missed the guy, support his foundation.
That's so rude, man. I can't believe you're sitting up here. Someone who's been a part of the channel for over a year now, and I'm an imposter. But hey, I mean, that's okay. That's okay. I forgive you. Gooch. It's okay. I forgive you.
I think juicy was a term of endearment. I don't know. Maybe.
I do too. But again, I'm using it to help.
Okay.
And I'm sitting here getting called an imposter.
Afro Samurai, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, I don't know that it's screwed. I will tell you this. I think Jaron Reed lifts the ability to keep the linebackers clean, especially in the base, but even in the nickel, because teams see the Chiefs get in nickel and they want to run on them. So I think having more bulk, whether it's Noddy, who I think you might see a little bit more pass rush snaps for this year just because they don't want to give up the run in the nickel, but Wharton as well. Wharton's solid against the run as well. And having 2 guys in there that can both offer some pass rush, because let's face it, Mike Pinnell's a good dude against the run. He brings nothing to the pass rush table. So it's easy to set a double team there, and then it's harder to keep the linebackers clean. I think that will help. They're not going to get a miracle, I'll tell you that. If they wanted KJ or they wanted Hicks, they would have gone out and done it. So I think what they want, if something goes wrong, they're going to shove their youth out there. They're going to get Nick Bolton onto the field as soon as possible. And they feel comfortable with Neiman as a guy that can call the defense and be a backup. And that's going to be fine. I think Neiman is going to start in the base when we do see that. They might play some decent amount of base against the Browns, depending on what the Browns choose to do. I think if the Browns are smart, they're going to come out and try to run Chubb and Hunt down the Chiefs' throats. And in that case, you're going to see Ben Neiman on the field with Willie and Hitch. But if anything goes wrong in that, they're just going to try to get Nick on there as soon as they can.
Yeah, I think that screwed is a little bit of a too far for me, because I think that Anthony Hitchens last year was the player you thought you were bringing over. He played much better last year, comfortable in his, in this system specifically. I think he's going to be better this year as well. So we're also really expecting a big step up from Willie Gay. He's expecting a big step from himself. So if you can get two linebackers on the field that just play average to above average, it's better than anything you've had the last 3 years. So that's all I'm hoping for, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, that's fair. Gooch, what did Gooch say? 22 LB core, DOD, Gay, and Bolton. Man, you love you some DOD. I'm telling you. I am a fan of Dorian as well, but I like your second comment better. I would move Dorian to that big safety role, see if he can do what Dan does without having to go back to the back of the defense. I like Dorian up there in space. I just don't think they trust him against the run, against linemen. So if you have him do what Sorensen does, I think that could be an option.
Why haven't they moved him then?
I don't know.
That's the one thing for me that's sticking in my head about DOD. They haven't made him a move to a player like Sorensen, because stylistically, I think that's ideally what you'd want him to play, is an in-between type of player. But they've stuck with him as a linebacker. But maybe that's the plan for him, but they're just labeling him still as a linebacker. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you guys this. It does come down. There are sometimes selfish coaches. There are linebacker coaches that don't want to give up linebacker to the safety room. There are special teams guys that just want them out there. And if they change that position, it might get more snaps on the defense. They don't want to give that guy up on their special teams. It's very, very, very about your kingdom. And Dave Tobe has a kingdom, and he doesn't want his guys to get offensive or defensive snaps.
He's like Doug Peterson back there. He doesn't want to get told what to do.
Right? Oh, man.
Let's take a little bit.
Did you see that piece about what the Eagles did and how they don't know where they're going or what they're doing?
I don't. You enlighten me, please.
I'll tell you offline because I can't remember who wrote it off the top of my head. So, good question, Casey Vest 44. Who's the most improved player from last season? Go ahead.
For me, it's going to be Mike Dana. I think he's going to take a huge step forward. I truly believe it, and I'm ready to get hurt if he doesn't. It's okay. I'm preparing for this situation.
Okay. I
will be hurt, though. I will be hurt. Like, it's not just going to be like, yeah, I was wrong. I'll be physically hurt if that happens.
I'll tell you this. For the Chiefs to be successful, it better be Willie Gay.
Yeah.
Because he has to be on the field a lot. And if he does do that, then it significantly helps the defense. I thought he was coming on. We'll see where he picks up from last season.
Hope so.
Scotty, if they trade Neiman for KC Barbecue, which barbecue should Veach request? I mean, it's Neiman, so you're not getting your high-end stuff. You're not getting Q39 or Jack Stack. You're not getting Arthur Bryant's. I mean...
There's a rib crib down the street.
Zarda, maybe? I don't know. I mean, and there are times I like Zarda. But if it's not on the other side of town, I'll go to Gates first. I'll just tell you guys that. I like to get hollered at.
That's a question. I love that.
That was pretty good.
That's great.
Jeremy, good question. Are you really sold on Jones not being a total liability at end?
Yeah. He's never been a liability at end anyway.
Yeah. A liability. I mean, is he going to get optioned? Yes.
Yeah.
Is he going to give up some plays, particularly in the option or RPO game? Yes. Total liability? No. I don't think that's anywhere close to that. I am totally comfortable with him out there, especially, again, if Reed and Noddy are doing their job, it should allow Hitch and Willie Gay to flow better. They can hopefully, buffer some of those mistakes that will happen in the run game if they're optioning him. 65 TPT. I don't think they've given up on him. I think, quite frankly, he got himself in the doghouse last year. I don't think he took care of business when he should have, especially when he got hurt he came back. I didn't think he was ready to put out. But I do have a picture of him playing linebacker, so I know he came back later that year and figured it out. So, all right. We are going to wrap it up here in a minute, folks, because we are at the hour. Seth will be back next week.
Yes, he will.
Thank you, Dan, for filling in, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Because if I'm just answering questions, people are like, hey, it's like Monday. What are you doing? So, yeah. Holly, thank you for the super chat. We will end with you. What roles do you see Gray playing on special teams? Or Ryan, are you covering that in your upcoming video? I will not cover special teams. I go out of my way not to cover special teams in any way, shape, or form. It's like golf. I just don't understand them.
No, that's not fair to them.
I don't understand how you set up a kick. Like all those things about Bucker missing stuff. Like I can't even speak to that intelligently. I don't know anything about it.
I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter.
Okay, fair enough. But I think Noah will play some special teams. I don't think it's going to be a ton. I'm guessing he's probably going to be on punt coverage, something where his athleticism will help him. But I don't think he's going to be on simple teams like PAT and field goal and that kind of stuff. So I think it'll all depend on how well he picks up the offense and how well he can get into being that guy that is the relief valve when they double Tyreek and they try to take away Kelsey. Because without that third receiver, until someone steps forward, teams are going to try to do that, to play zones and try to take away both.
I think he'll just be on Hans' team to start. That's what I see for him on special teams. That makes the most sense. He doesn't drop passes, so it makes a lot of sense to have him do something with that. But I don't think he's fast enough to be like a gunner or anything like that on punt. So for me, it makes sense to just put him where he can actually be useful on special teams. Otherwise, he needs to be on the sidelines, getting in the coach's ears and listening to everything that's going on the offense and talking and getting communication with Kelsey and things like that. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, fair enough. Scotty, thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you guys for being here. I hope that you enjoyed the weekend. You're going to see guys report tomorrow. I don't think they're covering it. They're not letting the beat reporters do their normal thing where they stand outside the dorms and stuff. So we should get some pictures, but it'll just be from Chiefs Media. So watch that. And we'll have a breakdown. Dan's actually going to be on with me on the Locked On podcast for Monday. So you guys check that out as well. Hope you enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you next time.